Okay, so this weekend is UFC 326. We're going to talk about the main event, probably in the most depth, and then we'll do some. It looks like you have some props that you're interested in talking about for some of the other fights on this card.
We could probably just jump right into the main event, honestly, instead of like work our way up. Just start from the top and kind of work
Oh
our way
yeah,
down,
100%,
kind of thing.
100%.
Dude, Max versus Charles BMF fight. I'm really excited. It's kind of one of those situations where both your parents are fighting. So the example everybody uses, because like the best is blessed, but the champ has a name. It's like those are the
Yeah,
kind of the battling forces.
you like seeing both of them win. You hate seeing either of them lose. That kind of
Exactly.
situation. I feel like it's
Exactly.
always been that way in the last few years for any of the fights between the kind of, I would say, the early 2020s lightweights. Your Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway, those kind of guys. Like, everyone kind of wants to see them do well because they're all just, I don't know, they just have good legacies. They're good. People like them. They got good personalities for the most part. They like their style. They're aggressive. They just make for exciting fights. So no one really wants to see them lose. Everyone wants to see them. I guess at this point they're all kind of on their way out, and so no one wants to see them go out in a less than satisfying way.
Right. Not
Yeah.
to mention too, they all have a lot to lose in this fight. Because think about it, this is kind of, I mean, it's technically a championship fight, but it really isn't. But this is probably, a title eliminator.
Yeah.
Because if Max gets a win, he'll definitely get a title shot. If Charles gets a win, he's had a lot of title shots, but he's got so much name value that he could probably find a way to get another title shot before he retires.
I'm not
You know,
opposed to that. I think that would be a fight that would do really well. And he's also, if he wins, that would be his second win since getting a title shot. So like, I don't got a problem with that. I think if you've got two wins or more after you had a title shot, like, go for it. Especially if you're an exciting fighter, which, yeah, like in theory, it should just be about how many wins you stacked up and what your rank is. But yeah, the UFC also has an interest in putting together fights that people want to watch. So if you're exciting and entertaining, yeah, they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt more when it comes to title shots, right? It's why O'Malley probably is much more on the docket for getting a title shot than, who else at bantamweight is super boring? Umar Nurmagomedov, who like doesn't is like
Rob.
basically in the last few years has had like no subs or KOs. And so, yeah, I mean, I feel like at lightweight, two wins, especially if they're two finishes after getting a title shot, like, go for it. I mean, think about Yuri. Yuri's kind of the same way. Yuri's had a lot of title shots too. How many? Probably like 4 or 5. I mean, really, he fought Pereira twice. He fought Glover. I guess that's 3, but he's getting a 4th title shot now. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't got a problem with that though, because the dude is an absolute savage, and pretty much every time he's lost his title fights, he bounces back and gets like a 1 or 2 KO wins. So yeah, I don't got a problem with that.
And then in an interview, Charles kind of gave his perfect world, his ideal scenario to his retirement. He said that he would beat Max Holloway, he'd get a title shot with whether it's again with Ilya, where he'd fight smarter, or with Justin Gaethje or whoever's there. He'd beat them, and then he'd go down to 145 and get the 145 belt, and then he'd retire. He said that he is not ruling out a 145-pound champ opportunity before he retires. And I'm surprised he even thought about that, like that he can make weight at 145, but that was his ideal scenario. What do you think about that?
Dude, I would be shocked if he goes down to 145. That dude is big now. He is not the same guy he was like 10 years ago when he was actually at featherweight. Like, he has gotten way bigger just as a person. Like, he's more muscular. I was very close to him at UFC 274. Like, when he was walking out, like, I was very, very close to him, like probably a few feet away from him. That dude is big. Like, he is like, making 145 pounds will be very hard. And dude, he barely makes 155. Like, he has a pretty intense weight cut to make 55. I don't know how the hell he's going to make 45. He'll have to do a really strict diet. Yeah. Yeah, the TJ Dillashaw method.
Yeah, the edits, dude.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me think, I'm just like, the Charles versus Volk kind of matchup is such an interesting style because I don't know, Volk, obviously he's gone to 155 to fight Islam, but that was kind of a one-off thing. Or technically two fights, but we don't really talk about the second one. But just thinking about like the 155 matchups with Volk, it's honestly, I really hope Volk goes to 155. You know, he's one of the few people that through his retirement, or through his just old age, he's still really successful at the same weight he's always been at his entire career. You know, still champ level, but we don't have to really talk about that. We can kind of get back to the actual matchup that's happening this weekend.
Sure.
But yeah, man, I'm scared. I'm scared for Charles. I'm scared for Charles, if I'm being quite honest. I don't think it's a complete shutout. Like, I think Charles, you know, Max has showed his kind of loss of durability in these last like year and a half or so. So I think at this stage, Max is aging worse than Charles in a sense, but off of straight technical ability, I think Max is at like a 60% chance to win to me. That's kind of where I'd put the odds. But I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think the odds makers are right in making Max the favorite, because Max is really comfortable in fights that get really chaotic. And I think the biggest thing that I'm worried about for Charles is just the speed difference. Max has ridiculously fast hands. Everybody seems to have a problem with it. Even Ilya Topuria got tagged a few times against Max because he's really good. Like, I was rewatching the Poirier fight, the trilogy fight that Max had with Dustin Poirier recently, because that's probably like the best representation of like what he's gonna look like. And he's really good at kind of luring his opponents in and then exploding forward, like sprinting forward with like a 3 or 4 punch combination. He did that really well against Dustin Poirier. I think the Justin Gaethje fight was a little different. I think Max was a little more like tactical against Justin Gaethje than he was against Poirier. Poirier, he was a little more aggressive. Like, he kind of made the Gaethje fight kind of more like a slow burn. And then at the very end, obviously things went crazy. But like for the most part, he kind of just picked him apart. Whereas the Dustin Poirier fight was a little more back and forth. Like, I think Dustin Poirier had a more competitive fight against Max than Gaethje did. There was never a moment in the Gaethje fight where Gaethje like actually had Max kind of hurt. Whereas at the end of round 2, Max was really close to being finished, like really close. I guess the thing I'd be worried about for Max is he does tend to kind of expose himself and like overextend himself a little bit when he rushes in. Topuria tagged him a few times when he was doing that. But I don't really know if that's going to be a problem against Oliveira, because Oliveira isn't really like a counter striker. He's more of like a get in your face and overwhelm you kind of fighter. He's not really the kind of guy to be like really good, like on his back foot, like someone like O'Malley or Adesanya or something. It's not really who he is. And Charles does get tagged sometimes when he's getting backed up. Like, think about the Chandler fights. Chandler is not that good, honestly. Like, I mean, he's not, obviously he's in the UFC, he's a top 10 fighter, so he's good. But when it comes to like, if we're comparing him to guys like Dustin Poirier, you know, Justin Gaethje, Oliveira, that kind of thing, like, he's not really at their level. And he had Oliveira hurt in both fights he was in by just kind of bum rushing him. And I feel like Max could do that too. Will this fight go the distance? I actually think this fight going the distance, there's a higher probability of that than people might give it credit for. I think people, I want to say last time I checked, for this fight to be inside the distance was like minus 200. And I don't know if I really agree with that. Like, Max isn't as much of a finisher as people seem to think he is. Like, when he fought Justin Gaethje, obviously, like, the last 10 seconds was kind of insane, but for the most part, there weren't really any moments in the fight where it seemed like Max was going to get him out of there or something. Same with Poirier. I mean, yeah, he had Poirier hurt, but it's kind of like when Sean Strickland had Adesanya hurt. It's like, yeah, he had him hurt, but like, not in the same way that Ilya Taporia has you hurt. If you're, you know what I mean? Like you really feel like a finish is happening. With Max, it just doesn't feel that way. I guess I do see a situation where Charles finishes the fight. Again, like Max's chin has kind of deteriorated over the years. I think his speed is still there. His power is still there, but he's a little less durable than it seemed like he used to be. Like he used to be able to just tank anything. And when he fought Dustin Poirier, and maybe it's just the fact that he's going up to lightweight and the lightweights hit harder, but pretty much since the Ilya Taporia fight, it kind of seems like, maybe his chin isn't quite as, I guess like invincible as it kind of used to seem like it was. And Charles hits hard, like really, really hard. Everyone who fights Charles says that dude hits like a truck. And so I could see a scenario where Max gets, I mean, think about the fact that Dustin Poirier knocked Max Holloway down and actually was like, had a fairly good guillotine against him at the end of round 2. And then ended up kind of like landing really big ground and pound shots at the very last second. I feel like if Charles gets in that situation, it'll be very different. Like Charles is just a finisher. He knows how to finish fights when it gets big like that. Like kind of like how he did with Justin Gaethje, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? He has you hurt and you hit the deck. That is a horrible situation to be against Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, and you're talking about the Max versus Justin. He actually dropped Justin really, really bad in the 4th round with like a 4-punch kind of combo. And the last one landed perfect and it dropped him. Nobody really talks about that, but that was kind of like to complement your point like 8 minutes ago. But yeah, man, the thing with Charles is that he throws super hard and he throws really straight.
Yeah.
People think of him as, he's just like a grappler with a little bit of striking. And maybe that was the Charles at 145 10 years ago. But now Charles is I'd almost get flack for this, but I would almost say he's a Muay Thai specialist. He doesn't actually attempt takedowns that much. When's the last time you saw Charles shoot a double leg?
He wrestled a lot against Michael Chandler in their rematch. That was like the last time I can think of when he actually took more of a wrestling heavy approach. He also wrestled wrestled a decent amount against Garbrandt too, but generally speaking, yeah, he's more of like, he actually generally prefers the fight to be on the feet. Like he'll pick that option more than, shooting takedowns.
Like where does he prefer to be? In most of his fights, he prefers to be in the fire on the feet. That's just at the end of the day, that's what it is. So, and just thinking about the fact that Max got dropped by kind of like an Dustin is making me sweat a little bit. Like my pick for this is probably going to be Max TKO. So I think Charles is going to probably, like every fight, overextend himself. And I think Max is going to punish him with some looping shots kind of thing. But if Charles can get Max down, if he can knock him down, like the club and sub, like if he can lock in that arm and guillotine, dude, it'd be over so quick.
Yeah.
So, if I'm going likelihood, it probably goes Max TKO at like most likely, slightly under that is Charles sub. And then probably Charles KO, Max decision, Charles decision, Max sub.
Yeah.
Max sub is not even in the books for me.
Nah, that's not happening.
I guess you can
Jump in. Yeah. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I kind of take back what I said about Max not being a finisher. I'm in some sense, I still agree with what I said. Like, I don't know if I would consider Max to be the same kind of finisher as Oliveira, just like I wouldn't consider Gaethje to be the same kind of finisher as Oliveira. Like in Gaethje's last 5 fights, I want to say most of them have gone the distance. He's not really like at this point in his career, like he's not really a crazy finisher like maybe he used to be. Still very good, and like obviously his fights are really really chaotic. But I mean, think about it. How many finishes has Gaethje had recently? Poirier. Like, am I missing anything? Like in the last 5 years, what other finishes has he had?
That's it.
I think Poirier is the only one, and like one finish in like 5 years is kind of not that great. Like I wouldn't consider you a finisher anymore.
Yeah, but to his defense, I think he's knocked down every opponent he's ever like faced. He knocked down Michael Chandler. He knocked down Fiziev in both fights. I'm pretty sure. Maybe not the first one, but obviously knocked down Patty like 10 times. knocked down Max in the 4th round.
Yeah.
He's knocked down every opponent to his
Oh,
defense.
yeah. 100%. No, I would say this is like, it's on a spectrum, right? Like on the one end of the spectrum, you have Merab, where it's like he's not even remotely close to getting a finish in most of his fights. And then you have on the other end of the spectrum, Yuri, who literally is incapable of going the distance. Like it's like an anomaly if he goes the distance, right? I would say Poirier is somewhere kind of like middle of the road, but inching toward finisher. Right, he's not as much of a decision merchant as Merab or like Movsar or something, but there's just no denying it. He has had one finish since 2020, and that was Dustin Poirier. He went the distance against Patty. He went the distance against Fiziev. He lost by KO to Holloway. He got the KO against Poirier, decision against Fiziev, decision against Chandler. And then before that was Tony, right? Or I guess it was Habib, but I'm only talking about his wins here. You know what's interesting, though, is Gaethje has never lost a decision. That's kind of interesting. He's only ever lost by finish, which is kind of an interesting thing to think about. Which actually kind of solidifies that even more, that Gaethje really is at his absolute best when he wins decisions. Something to think about. But yeah, I think, where are we even going with that? Oh yeah, we were talking about finishing and Max. I will say, I agree with you that because Charles is the kind of fighter to really push forward and be really aggressive and kind of throw caution to the wind, that is really dangerous against Max, because Max is really comfortable when the fights get really chaotic. Like, he's not somebody who gets intimidated by that. Whereas, for example, when Justin Gaethje fought Charles Oliveira, you could kind of tell that Gaethje was a little flustered by the pressure that Oliveira was putting on him.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, it really looked like he was kind of like out of his element a little bit. Not that Gaethje can't handle chaotic fights. Like, obviously he's been in a ton of them, but there's no denying that he just looked uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable. He started kind of his like kind of basic fundamentals started falling. He started kind of losing them when he fought Oliveira. And I don't know if that will happen to Max. Like, even think about Korean when Max fought Korean Zombie, and Korean Zombie kind of went for broke at in the last round of that fight. And Max was like very comfortable, kind of getting pressure, but also just kind of tucking his chin, biting down on his mouthpiece, and kind of meeting it with an equal and opposite force. I feel like he'll do that against Oliveira, and that's a little scary, because when Oliveira fought Gaethje too, like, I remember there were a lot of moments where he was kind of getting into the fire, getting into the pocket with Gaethje, and he almost always lost those exchanges. He got knocked down like 3 times in the first round. It's like, dude, I don't know if you can do that against Max. Like, Max is just so dangerous in the pocket. His hands are so fast. That's why the point down thing, at this point, it's kind of become like a tradition. But that is so difficult to do against Max because his hands just move so fast. He just has such fast hands. It's hard to beat him to the punch in that scenario. And in those situations, it's hard for it to be anything remotely intelligible. You know what I mean? I feel like if Charles were smart in that situation, he would just kind of clinch and try and throw like knees and elbows and stuff, instead of just kind of like tucking my head and just kind of like swinging my arms. That's kind of what Max does. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. He's just kind of like swinging. I mean, there's a little bit of like, oh, I wait for you to throw and then I throw kind of thing. But I feel like if Charles is smart and he's like, okay, I'm not going to obviously jump a sub or something like that. That'd be kind of weird. I feel like he would, but I feel like in that situation, yeah, maybe he could be tactical about it. Like, grab Max's head, throw knees, throw elbows. Like, I don't think that'd be a problem for people. I don't think they'd feel like he's cheating it or something like that. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's a little scary.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where with Charles, and I love him for this, that his chaotic nature, but anytime he has a lot to lose in a fight, he just forgets to fight. Just he goes out of his way to get a finish, and to the points where it hurts him. Every title fight he's been in, and as much as it's not really a championship fight, it's still a title fight in his eyes, right? It's still a belt that he wants in his bedroom, on his desk kind of thing. Every time a fight like this comes up, he fights reckless. And, I mean, nothing more needs to be said on that. But just based off the history, I'm not going to expect Charles to come out here and be like, yeah, he's going to fight like the way he fought Michael Chandler in the second fight. He's going to be systematic. He's going to get takedowns. He's going to get control time. It's like, dude, what are we talking about here? Okay. Mm-hmm. We know we've watched Charles fight for like, me and you have watched him fight for 5+ years. We know what he fights like. We know he's going to come out. He's going to come to take Max's head off. Right. Mm-hmm. And that kind of a firefight, who has a better chance of getting a finish? Mm-hmm. And like my list before, Max KO, Charles sub, maybe Charles KO. So for me, it's like 60% Max TKO, 40% Charles sub. That's where I am. I don't really know if I could touch this fight in a betting way. I mean, the fight to go the distance, no, is -235. And that's probably the play I'd take. Just be very safe, put a couple units on fight to not go the distance, grab your popcorn bucket and enjoy,
Yeah.
That's kind of all I can really say on this matter,
Also, another factor too that I would say is kind of playing into this as well, that is probably a big reason why people say this fight's going to be inside the distance, is that if it does go the full 25 minutes and Max does the point down thing, I don't think Charles is going to shy away from it. Like, I don't think he's going to clench up and that kind of thing. I think he'll just kind of get in there and do the thing. And so, and that's one of those things where like 10 seconds of that, dude, it's like a 50-50 that someone hits the deck. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, it could be one of those things where they're both kind of tucking their chin and just like swinging and maybe nothing really connects. I think the problem with Gaethje is that there's one moment where he kind of like almost like grabbed a collar tie, and then as he was coming up, he brought his chin way in the air, and that's when Max hit him with that massive right hook that dropped him. But it's like, dude, if you just like tuck your chin and hit the body, your chances of getting KO'd are like probably a lot lower, just because your head just isn't dangling in the air like that, you know?
Exactly. And dude, like, just to make my case for why this fight is not going to go to decision even better, I totally forgot. This fight is in Brazil. I'm pretty sure this card's in Brazil.
No. I think it's at the T-Mobile Arena.
Really?
Yeah. No, it's in
like
Vegas.
All Brazilian fighters. Actually, okay. I don't know where I got that from, that this was UFC Brazil. Maybe it's because Moicano and I don't know why.
And
something about
Gregory
Rodrigues. This fight was going to be in Brazil.
Yeah, there are a lot of Brazilians on the card, but I'm pretty sure, it's at the T-Mobile.
All right, well, actually, let me redact that point. But anyways,
it's all good.
I still think my claim is true. But honestly, at this point, we've been talking this for a while. I think our points have been made. I think let's move on to the co-main.
Okay, sounds good.
But yeah, so Caio and RDR. Obviously, I agree with the odds makers. I think Borralho should win for two reasons. One, he's way faster. He's got better fight IQ, and I think he's more technical than RDR. Dude, RDR is just the definition of like the best worst fighter. He should lose every matchup he's in, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he's come on top. He's been able to come out on top every single fight. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But this is I think a really good matchup for Caio. Yeah. RDR is super slow. He looks like he's Derek Lewis out there. He throws that slow, you know?
Yeah.
And Caio is gonna throw straight. He's gonna hit the mark way faster. You know, I would say Caio, kind of a weird example that I haven't really thought about until this exact moment, but he almost reminds me of like Magomed Ankalaev. It's kind of a random comparison, but
no, I can see it.
He throws mainly straight punches, very quick, decent footwork. He's really not. He's really solid, and I think this is going to be a really good bounce back win. Something I wrote down was that the way that Caio fought Paul Craig, I think, is the almost exact way he's going to fight and probably finish RDR. But just from what I'm saying, what do you have to say about that?
Man, I don't know. I'm not too excited about this fight. Caio Borralho to me is so boring. Like, I don't know why. Whenever I watch him fight, I'm just so like meh. Like, yeah, he's good. He's well-rounded. But it's just like, dude, it just doesn't seem like you're really in there like you want to finish this fight. I don't know. I mean, I know he has some finishes, but okay, like a finish over Paul Craig, like everybody finishes Paul Craig. Like, it's just so many meh fights to me. Rainier Ritter's kind of fun. He's like, his style isn't like the prettiest, but it works. I mean, he had a really good win over Robert Whittaker, who's a very respectable opponent. I hope he's in better shape in this fight because I feel like the Brendan Allen loss is a little bit of a stain on his record. Like, if he had a full camp and he was like really fresh, could he have beaten Brendan Allen? Probably, possibly. I don't know. I mean, Anthony Hernandez would have rolled through him in that fight if Brendan Allen beat him because Anthony Hernandez is like Brendan Allen, but on steroids, you know, in terms of like his style. I don't know. I feel like I'd like to see Rainier de Ritter do some grappling in this fight, kind of make it ugly. I think Caio Borralho will try and make it super technical and stuff and kind of slow and boring, honestly. And so I think if he lets him do that, like he'll probably win. I think Rainier de Ritter kind of needs to get in his face and like throw the knees. He's really good at those knees to the body. He's always been really good at that. And just kind of be heavy and big and just drag him down. Like that would be a way for Rainier de Ritter to like maybe finish this fight. He's got super solid grappling, so.
Right. And this is a 3-round fight, right? So that does favor RDR because obviously his cardio is not amazing. I did see like a post of RDR's physique, and he looks way more peeled in this fight than the last fight. So that's the only part where I'm like, are we going to see a change in his, cardio or just his physicality? I'm not exactly sure, but obviously my pick is going to be, probably Caio decision because it's 3 rounds. But, what can RDR do to leverage his strengths in this fight? Obviously RDR is a way bigger fighter. He's like a huge middleweight. He's like 6'4", but he's pretty filled out.
He doesn't look skinny though.
No, he kind of has the Sean Woodson thing where he has like kind of a small torso and long legs.
Yeah.
I think. And so sometimes dudes with that build they just hold on to weight better for their division.
Yeah.
Depending on their style. But is RDR gonna take Caio down? I don't think so. I think Caio's he's boring, but he's pretty well rounded. I think Imavov was a bad matchup for him, but I don't think RDR is gonna be able to take him down. It'll probably be a stand-up fight, and in a stand-up fight, who wins most of the time? Probably Caio. RDR would have to just land a nuke of a knee to his body, to maybe get Caio backing up, and maybe he can get him to the fence and shoot, but it's just like, I don't know, man. I think probably 8 times out of 10, Caio should win this fight. And
just by decision. Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't know if I really have much to add to that. Yeah, I think RDR's best option in this fight is to somehow get it to the ground and just do his thing because he's got a really good submission game. And like you said, he's huge. Think about this. He's the same height as Pereira and Adesanya, and he doesn't look skinny. Like he looks like pretty filled out at that weight. He doesn't it doesn't seem to me like he's a lanky guy, even though he's the same size as they are. So maybe he just cuts a redonkulous amount of weight. But
dude, talking about filled out middleweights, dude. So one day when Ateba Gautier gets a ranked opponent, we'll talk about him.
Holy moly.
God.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That guy's got to get a ranked opponent. But anyways. Okay. And then the rest of these fights, we can kind of just touch on quickly. I think even if you're not really interested, I think they're kind of interesting, but
sure.
Rob Font versus Raul Rosas Jr. Finally a fight for Raul to kind of get in the rankings, and it is kind of risky though because Rob Font has a history of kind of humbling young bucks in a sense, but Raul Rosas Jr. kind of already had that with Christian Rodriguez. He kind of got beat a little bit and just kind of forced him to kind of change his game and become more well-rounded. And I think Raul Rosas Jr. is gonna get in on some takedowns. He's probably gonna bank the first 2 rounds, and like we all know, Rob Font is really good at kind of a slow burn and being consistent. His gas is not really empty, and so I think he'll probably take the 3rd, but I think Rosas Jr. will get a pretty convincing 29-28 in this fight. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I've always really liked Raul Rosas Jr.'s like wrestling, and obviously he's got a good submission game too. Especially at his age, it's just so impressive that he's. I don't know. I feel like he has a very mature grappling skill set for somebody his age, and it like as we've seen, that's just such a reliable path to victory. And so, yeah, I could totally see Raul Rosas Jr. getting a decision just from like control time on the ground. Rob Font is kind of, I don't know, probably like 5 years ago, he was considered like a real, like maybe serious kind of, I almost want to say like top five gatekeeper. But at this point, he probably fits more realistically in the kind of like rank 5 to 10 range of bantamweight. He's definitely on his way out. He's 38. Isn't that nuts? Rob Font is 17 years older than Raul Rosas Jr. Rob Font was 17 when Raul Rosas Jr. was born. That is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I actually agree with you. I think Raul Rosas Jr. should be a favorite.
Yeah, and Rosas Jr., he's on like a 4-fight win streak right now. He's
doing quite well.
And yeah, especially for the fact that he's also not very active. He's kind of been a little bit on the fighting once per year train a little bit. Actually, he fought twice in 2023 and 2024. He's doing good. And obviously people talk about Raul Rosas Jr.'s sub. And I do think that's always live in his style, especially for the first round. But Rob Font is very battle tested. He's fought a lot of people that are way better than Raul Rosas Jr.
Yeah.
And he's never really had trouble in that area. So I have a hard time believing that Raul Rosas Jr. is going to like give him anything new to think about than anybody he's fought in the last 20 years, you know? So I'm pretty comfortable with that pick of Rosas Jr. decision. It might actually be one of my favorite picks of the card, but as like a specific fighter and type of a win. But we can move on. So it's Drew Dober versus Michael Johnson. This is going to be a barn burner. Absolute barn burner.
Crazy.
Anytime one of these guys fights, it's like, oh, he's going to be good. They're fighting each other. It's like, good Lord. And we all know their styles, right? Michael Johnson his power is decent, but where he really excels is his speed. He just hits the target faster than all his opponents, always.
Yeah.
And so, obviously that's going really well for him. And we know with Drew Dober, stereotypically, he does very, very good against African Americans.
Oh yeah.
But my kind of just thought process is, I think Drew Dober, I think he has a better chin than Michael Johnson. And
sure.
Even though he's been finished, Michael Johnson has been rocked by worst opponents, because Drew Dober is getting finished by, I'll just say the main name, Manuel Torres, right? And that's not a bad loss, because Manuel Torres is really good. I mean, since his announcement with Benil, you've probably seen him a little bit more than you would have in the past. And you can probably back me up that Manuel Torres has a future. He is really good. He has all finishes, whatever. So, and so Dober's fighting better competition, whereas, Michael Johnson's fighting his last fight was the Zaitar guy or whatever. Is some dudes that are not even close to the rankings. He's looking good, but that competition is trash. So I think, Dober TKO is not a bad bet, but they're both live, especially early. I think Michael Johnson is way more live for a KO early, and Dober's probably more of a late KO guy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I have much to add to that. I feel like I haven't studied their styles enough to really have I agree with your assessment that Michael Johnson's the faster fighter. Drew Dober's probably the less chinny and really aggressive and's got good power. So yeah, this fight will very likely be inside the distance.
Yeah, which is definitely not a bad bet, or fight to end in KO. And so moving on, the Gregory Rodrigues versus Brunno Ferreira. Again, there's not really much name value here, but these fights are going to be insane.
Yeah.
I don't know. You obviously have seen their first fight because this is a rematch. Brunno Ferreira knocked out Gregory Rodrigues in about 50 seconds.
Yeah.
Like flatlined.
Like really bad. Yeah.
Brunno Ferreira is one of those fighters where I don't understand it because he is so short for the division. He's like 5'10" at middleweight. I guess it's not terrible because Joaquin Buckley was fighting kind of in that range. But he's also not peeled, too. Like, Joaquin Buckley was kind of peeled. Brunno Ferreira's got some fluff, but sometimes, like, you know, the Kelvin Gaslams, they got some fluff, or Osmat Mirzakhanov, but they hit like a truck. I don't know why they can't get the extra weight off and go down a weight class, but whatever works, you know? And obviously, since their first fight, Gregory Rodrigues has kind of been on a run. He's been doing pretty good. You know, he had that really good knockout against Jack Hermanson.
Mm-hmm.
And
scary one too.
So he's been getting a lot of finishes since their first fight a few years ago. But what I don't understand why he's a favorite. His style hasn't changed. It hasn't changed. He's still the same guy. He's just fighting. Maybe he's getting better matchups.
Yeah.
You know, he's like a minus 185. I'm like, dude, I'm taking Brunno Ferreira KO all day. All day. I do think that Gregory Rodrigues can never be counted out. He's going to be live for a KO in any fight he's in. But as far as the value, Brunno Ferreira KO is probably like plus 300. And in this matchup, I'm taking that.
Yeah, 100%. I think you're right. That's the best value for this matchup.
Yeah, very, very quality. And then the last thing I want to talk about, because obviously this does have some name value. Doesn't really mean much for the division, but is Cody Garbrandt versus Xiao Long. I am taking Cody. Honestly, I don't know who Xiao Long is, but just based off Cody, he's not a bad fighter. I don't think he's deteriorated in his career. You know what I mean? He's losing to decent competition. Like his last losses are to Davison and Roundy Barcelos, who we know is not ranked, but basically should be ranked. He's kind of been like the prospect killer in his later years. But I don't know, man. I think this is a good spot, a good buy low spot on Cody Garbrandt, you know, to come back. And I heard that he switched gyms, and I think at this stage in his career, when his losses really come more from like a mentality problem, less of a technical problem, I think switching gyms is a good idea. I think he wants to be here. You know, I don't think it's not like he doesn't want to be in the UFC anymore. He wants to be here. So I'm excited to see him. And I don't really, do you have anything to say? Probably not.
Not really. I don't got much to add for this one. I haven't looked into it much, so it's hard for me to say. I mean, Cody Garbrandt's actually pretty well rounded. Like, he's got decent wrestling, and obviously he's got really fast hands. He's been chinny, and sometimes his game planning isn't that great, but maybe that'll change with a new team.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't really have much more to say. I do want to kind of just like run through the bets just like one more time and kind of picks. So for the main, I'm going to take probably Max TKO, and then if you want to hedge the bet a little bit, I think Charles Sub is equally as good. You can also just like kind of pool your money and just put it on fight to not go the distance, which I think is also, I don't throw the word lock around a lot, but this is probably a lock. And then for the Kyle Bryo and RDR fight, I'd probably say Caio decision. Fights to go the distance is probably the best. Maybe TKO for Caio, but RDR is pretty durable. He gets hit a lot, but he's pretty durable. And this is a three-round fight. So I think the fight going the distance is a good bet. Moving down, I'd probably say Rosas Jr. decision. Fight to go distance. Maybe you can also say maybe Rob Font point spread to take around. I think that's also a good bet. But I think Rosas decision is solid. And then for Dober and Michael Johnson, I'd probably say fight to end in KO is probably the best bet. And then I do think Dober KO. I think he has a better chance of actually getting a finish in this fight over Michael Johnson. And then Brunno Ferreira KO. And then probably like Cody Garbrandt money line. But those are my favorite bets of the card. But
I think those are good. I think the only one I'm not really a fan of is Rob Font point spread, just because the kind of fight that Raul Rosas Jr. usually has is like a very wrestling heavy fight where he's going to take you down and just kind of control you on the ground for 5 minutes or attempt a submission, like maybe take your back. And that's how Corey Sandhagen basically 50-45 Rob Font, and Rob Font had literally no answers for it. I know that was on short notice, but I could very easily see that happening. And Raul Rosas Jr. 30-27ing him. So I would almost say go the opposite and say Raul Rosas Jr. point spread might be better for that reason. I just don't know if I see, like with his style and the way he'll probably win that, I just don't see Rob Font. Like I could very easily see a situation where Rob Font basically wins no rounds. It gets 30-27.
That's actually a pretty interesting point of view because just looking at DraftKings right now, Raul Rosas Jr., his money line is like minus 250, so he's a pretty big favorite.
Yeah.
The point spread for Rob Font is minus 135. The point spread for Rosas Jr. is plus 100.
Yeah.
So it's plus money on the point spread for Rosas Jr. So not a bad bet to say the least. But yeah, I think it's all the really the things I want to touch on for this card. I think it was a good episode. So
Sweet. It's going to be fun.
all right, we'll end it there.